Welcome, everyone. This is Fireside Chat with Debbie Marks, and we have Debbie with us. Hi, Debbie. And we also
Hello.
have Sally today. And we're going to hear a little bit about Debbie's story. So, Debbie, I know your story starts off with once upon a time is where my story begins. Tell us about that.
Well, I wanted to start at the beginning, and what better place than to let everybody know that in 1953, I was born. I was a Navy brat. I was born in Seaside Memorial Hospital in Long Beach, California. And my mom, Esther, was actually the firstborn of an Army captain. And his wife, my grandmother, they were born in 1934. My dad, Richard, was the second son in his family, and they happened to be living in California at the same time I was born. My dad was a Navy seaman, and he worked with the electrical components of battleships. And my mom, when she graduated from high school, they got married in New York, and they moved to California so he could finish his 4 years in the Navy. So, I mean, really, you never think about being a Navy brat. I mean, I never did, really. And when I went back once to California, I purposely went to Long Beach because I wanted to see the hospital that I was born in. And I realized how close it was to the ocean. And that's probably what has given me the passion I love for ocean. Being near the ocean is that.
Debbie, this is stuff I never knew about you. So what a great backstory. I love that. I love that. I remember, just a tad bit. It is kind of important to kind of revisit some of those places. I was actually born here in Columbus, Ohio, at the old St. Anne's, if anybody remembers where that was, on Bryden Avenue. And my daughter Jennifer was also born at the old St. Anne's the last month they were open before they built their new hospital up in Westerville. So it's kind of fun to go look at that building now, to just know that's where I was born. That's where, I entered into this world, and it's where my Jennifer entered into this world. So it is a cool thing to kind of revisit those places. Mm-hmm. So at some point, though, you returned back to New York. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. I remember the stories that my mom always told me about. They actually took a train ride from California to New York. So you can imagine back then what that was like. And in the course of moving back, I was still a young child of two. And my dad, with his electrical background, my grandfather, who also worked at Scott Aviation in actually Lancaster, New York, got my father a job there. And if you're not familiar what Scott Airpack is, or Scott Aviation, it's where they construct the air tanks and face masks that the firemen use when they're fighting fires, chemical fires, whatever. So I have to tell you, every time I see something like that in the news, I always look to see what's on their air tanks. But he worked there many years. And in fact, I remember the article of my grandfather when he retired. It was so awesome. In fact, I've put that in my genealogy, his article from Scott Aviation for that. And I soon became the oldest sibling of five. I had two sisters and I have two brothers.
Okay.
And but we were a family that lived in a very, very low income environment. we had a lot of challenges, but you had to be creative. Like sometimes a situation would come up and you had to, I could probably say back then my mom thought outside the box. And so, but today I have to admit that I'm very, very grateful for my mom. She taught me so much in my younger years that I'm using these days. And, at the time when I was learning these, I thought, oh, what am I going to do with all this stuff later on? But, and a lot of us think that. But if it wasn't for her teaching me how to cook, I wouldn't feel free to experiment these days. And the gardening, well, that's when I got my first taste of learning to garden. But most importantly was watching and helping her can everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, she did everything from tomatoes to pickles to vegetables, but back then everything was canned, nothing was frozen. And
well, they didn't have the freezers like we have today either. No, yeah, no, I get that.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And but like I said, 47 years of marriage now has really been a benefit at those things that I grew up learning.
Wow, I get it. I remember watching my mom do all kinds of things. Now, of course, my mom worked at a factory job and minimum wage, and she worked a lot of overtime. And so she taught me at a very early age how to take care of the house, kind of a streamlined system. And I use that still today. Yeah. So and we don't realize maybe what we're learning back then, but it does benefit us later on. Now, you and I were talking one time, and you said that as a child, you were living two lives. Can you tell us about that, Debbie?
Well, this is probably the darkest secret. As I stated before, I was the oldest of 5. And I had a lot of responsibilities in taking care of them because my father would, request that she attend things with him. So I was always babysitting. I mean, I learned right from the beginning how to take care of an infant. Then I realized and I learned that I had to protect them. And I had to protect them from my dad.
Oh, wow.
And, people will look at you and say, why? I mean, he's your dad. I mean, what's so wrong with that? Well, basically short and to the point, he was a very strong alcoholic who was uncontrollable at times.
Oh, wow, Debbie, I had no idea.
There was once where he was so mad because I let my sister do something and it was simply, she chose to ride a bike double with a friend and she fell off and she got hurt. So consequently, it was my fault. And with that, my dad got so angry, he actually took my head and was hoping to pound some sense into me. But all he basically did was put a hole in the wall. And I will never forget that. I can visualize the wallpaper. And in addition to that, he had a mouth like a sewer and he was abusive in every sense of the word. And for me, I was always getting beatings with a belt. I remember one time where I was 12 and I evidently did something wrong and I don't remember what it was, but he had a belt and the belt was used quite vigorously all over. And it didn't matter whether I had a shirt on or pants on or whatever. That's what it was. And my mom could do nothing to stop. And so I took this abuse to protect my siblings, but I found that even with everything I had within me, he succeeded in
Oh, Debbie, I had no
hurting all
idea.
of them.
I had no idea that
It's
you
okay.
went through all of that. I am so sorry. For those of us that have had a different type of childhood, my dad was a very kind and loving and passive kind of personality. I can only remember my entire childhood of him even raising his voice twice in my entire childhood. And even then, he never was physically abusive in any way. He yelled at us twice. And I remember it crushed me because I thought I had disappointed him.
And
You
that's
know,
easy. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so I cannot even imagine as a child how you navigate the emotions that go with this is your dad, who on one hand, from your earlier story, you're very proud of, and
Mm-hmm.
the legacy that he created, but then on the other hand have to navigate toward the emotions and where you put that mentally, how you can navigate through all that. That is just amazing to me, and I can't even relate to that because I've never had to.
Well, through much therapy, I was going through thinking that it all started when I was 5 years old, but in therapy, I found out that I was actually 3 years old when all of this started. And it actually lasted for 13 years.
Oh,
And when you put a time on it, you sit there and you go, oh, that's my entire childhood.
mhm.
Entire childhood. And then,
Well, and another thing too, Debbie, when you look at a 3-year-old, when you
yeah,
look today at a 3-year-old and you tell yourself, that's how big I was, that just breaks my heart.
yeah. It, and you're right. I can honestly say that a couple of times I've related to that. And I can't imagine them having to go through the same thing, because no child should ever have to deal with the situations that I had to deal with. And I it was very hard for my mom when she found out, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day I can remember what her and I were doing when she came right out and asked me. And I gulped, and I had to admit it. I had to say yes. And from then on, it was hell in the house, because I exposed,
Mm-hmm.
and I put up with that for another 4 years. And when I had graduated from high school, and I just graduated, and he couldn't handle it anymore, so he kicked me out. So I had to deal with living on my own. My mom she could say nothing. In fact, when she came home, she asked where I was, and my dad said, I kicked her out. You can imagine the look on her face.
Well, and now it's a double-sided sword for you as well, because not only are you having to try to support yourself and figure out, where am I going to stay? How am I going to feed myself? How's my life
right,
going to look? You're leaving those siblings behind.
right. Oh, that was the
Oh,
hard part. Yes. So yeah, yes, that's the secret life that I led.
wow.
And in a way, I have kept it a secret all these years. I mean, You just don't go around talking about that. Back then, you didn't go to the police and complain because they would say it was your fault. What did you do wrong? You know,
I
and
get it.
they, you know, and then now I couldn't even imagine what's going on now for a lot of these people. But anyways,
I felt bad about the people during, lockdown when you
Yeah.
couldn't go anywhere. And the kids and the women who were in abusive households,
We're
what did they
trapped.
do? They're trapped.
yeah, yeah.
It couldn't have gotten better, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. If anything,
Yeah.
it got worse and it was never talked about. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, once in a while it would be brought up in a very deep conversation about, who is this lockdown is affecting, but nobody ever looked into it. Nobody expanded on that. And that's sad.
It wasn't in the general news media at all. It was, yeah, if you were in certain circles, the subject may have come up, but it wasn't just general conversation on how can we protect these folks.
Right.
Because everything was shut down, any form of support
Exactly.
was gone.
Exactly.
Wow. But then Rick came into your life. Tell us about that, Debbie.
Yes. Well, I remember we met in high school, our senior year. And my friend Cheryl said, "Hey, Debbie, come and play euchre with us." We always played euchre at lunchtime. And I go, "Well, I don't know how to play." She goes, "That's okay, we'll teach you." So that's how I met Rick.
Okay.
I was at the euchre table with him and we were all playing and it was great fun. And so we graduated together and he was the love of my life. We spent all of our free time together and we had so many college or high school friends. But you know how it goes. Summertime ends and he had to go away to college and that was okay. I was figuring my life out because I had been kicked out already. And anyways, I decided after, finding a good job, trying to work, I decided, you know what? Someone said to me, "Go back to school. You're living on your own. You're not making money to pay for college. Go to college." And so I applied and I got most of my college paid for, which was good. And Rick and I talked it over and we decided I would apply to the college that he was going to. And I was accepted. And so it was great. I mean, we went to school together, we did homework together. And I was going for a business degree and he was expanding his electrical engineering degree. And so it was fun. I mean, it was interesting. And but my dad was not appreciative of it at all. He unfortunately still played, tried to interfere, but that's another story.
Well, and again, somebody that's abusive, oftentimes it's about power, it's about control, and my guess is he felt like he had totally lost control of you since you were out on your own.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. So you guys got married, you and Rick got married.
Yes.
Okay, now were you still in college or were you both graduated by then?
No, we were actually still in college.
Okay.
We were still in college. We were just finishing up the last year.
Okay.
And I will admit, I got pregnant. what else? It's not unusual.
Well,
So-
Debbie, let me just say you're not the first and you won't be the last.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it was, no big deal. I mean, so what? We were going to get married anyways. We were already engaged. So we decided we got married in January of 1974. Really, long time ago. But we planned it all out. We paid for it. I mean, that was bare minimum wedding. I mean, my dress only cost $30.
Yep. Which was a lot of money back then.
Back then,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I told my mom, or Rick and I told her together, and she said, I can't come. I don't want your dad to know because it'll just be problems. And which really it did turn out. Rick and I had our college friends around us. Rick's mom did attend, and her best friend. So it was just nice and fun being with just our friends. And the next day, my minister, unbeknownst to my mother, announced that Rick and I had gotten married. And of course, everybody in the congregation was congratulating him and blah, blah, blah. And of course, my dad is standing there going, what the hell? Excuse me.
But of course, he had to save face in front of all the church people. Yeah.
Oh, of course. And I remember my mom calling me and told me, she goes, your dad's on his way to find you. And well,
what did that mean?
That was, I got the word out. Hey, somebody's coming to look for me. You have no idea where I am. And that worked because he never could find me. And he went back home very defeated. And I'm glad because that was my special day. And I didn't want him ruining it.
I get that.
I mean, that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
So, yes.
Okay, so then fast forward. So now you already have the one child, and now you have a second child.
Yes, yes. Sandy was born in 1977. And for some reason, but I know now that it was God's hand, I decided to go get Sandy baptized 2 weeks after she was born.
Okay.
And so because we went back home, by then my father and I were at least talking, and I wanted to get her baptized. I wanted my parents to see Sandy and have my pastor do it.
And of course you already had Lori.
Right. Lori was born earlier in 74, actually. And so the first thing my dad said was when he saw Sandy was, boy, that's scary. Because Sandy was 24 inches long and weighed 11 pounds, 14 ounces. So
oh my goodness, Debbie.
That would be scary for anybody. But it turned out to be a good thing because my father passed away 2 weeks later from a massive cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 43.
That's just how old he was.
That's all. Yes, 43.
Wow.
Yep. But
Debbie,
that's about how.
I'm sorry.
What?
Go ahead, Sally.
That's about how old Ed's father was when he died, but he died of lymphoma.
Wow. That's so young.
Well, and the older we get, the younger it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
Debbie, you had to have so many mixed feelings during that time. I cannot even imagine navigating all of those emotions and coming out sane at the other end. You're so amazing.
Well, and the thing about it was when he passed away, I had my 4 siblings to take care of. They, my youngest brother was only 9,
Oh,
and
wow.
I had taken care of him from the time he came home from the hospital. That's another story. But they needed my strength. They needed me to be strong for them and my mom. And, but the thing was, I hadn't forgiven him. Yes, I
get that.
I wrote a letter and I put it in the coffin. And what I realized was that's the day that I stopped crying. It sounds strange, but I stopped crying because it's just what was inside of me that I couldn't explain.
Well, and at that
missing.
point, you did all that you could do. You
Yeah.
did the best you could with the information you had through growing up, and now you've put that letter in his coffin. And my guess is that you kind of gave yourself permission to let that go.
I thought I was.
Okay.
That was the intent of the letter, to move on. But I soon found that that didn't happen. So
Okay. All right. So tell us about that. 2000 was nearing. So now what? It's been 26 years. You now have a family of 5. What happened then?
Well, we all can relate to having teenagers in your life, and you just get up in the morning and say, okay, what's today?
Hang on.
and let's go. And my life was so busy, I couldn't see straight. And but the point was that I thought I could handle so much more. So, like I mentioned, we were living in a great neighborhood, but I soon came to be the go-to. Oh, Debbie can do it. And I would say, sure, no problem. I took on the neighborhood kids before school and after school for 2 years. And meanwhile, Rick is working, and he actually went back to get his master's. And I was just kind of sitting there left hanging, holding the bag. And I'm sure that there's a lot of women that are listening to this later on that can relate to.
Oh, yeah.
So I ended up, my health went to pot and I came down with some severe migraines that eventually put me in the hospital for some time being.
Oh, wow.
But when I came out, I said, okay, now what? Because I wasn't going to go back to babysitting at all. That was enough, 2 years, and I actually had 12 kids. So
oh my goodness, Debbie,
I had a house
daycare.
But luckily, it was some in the morning, some in the afternoon, and I only had a few during the day because they were infants and they were growing up. But, I'm sure we've all had to put ourselves out there and then take a step back and say, what was I thinking?
So it sounds like you came up with a plan. So let's call it Plan A. What was your plan?
Well, my plan A consisted of, okay, there's more out that front door that I have no knowledge of. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put my talent to work and I'm going to go find a job. And then I realized, oh my God, it's been 19 years since I actually worked out of the, in the business world. And it was like, do I really want to do this? But I did. And because was so much into crafting and sewing and everything, I got a part-time, I just went out, I got a part-time job at a place called Peace Goods.
Yeah.
It used to be in Lancaster, not anymore.
I remember it
And
though. I remember it.
and it was fun. I enjoyed it. But I realized my freedom came at a price, because big price, because I had to be super mom, because I not only had to work, but I had to make sure everything, mother duties, wifey duties were all taken care of before I went to work. Because when I got home, I would have the aftermath to pick up after. So
your job at home didn't change. You just added to it.
how true, how true.
Okay, so then you decided if you couldn't keep up that super mom status, so now you're going to move on to plan B. What was your plan B?
Well, my plan B consisted of not working for corporates anymore. I was sick of that scene. After Peace Goods, I worked at Joanne Fabrics in different positions, and I expanded my knowledge of business. And I said, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to open up my own business. And so I opened up Prairie Rose Quilting House in Lancaster. And I loved it. It was the freedom. My mom had come to live with us, so she would come to work with me. I taught her how to quilt, and she just went head into it. And we had such a good time that one time in particular, we went on a buying trip, and we went to Kentucky, because in Kentucky, there's Paducah, which is the national quilt show area.
Wow.
Every year. And Sally, by the way, I would love to go back there.
Elkins is a big quilting place too. Elkins, West Virginia. Big.
Okay, well, let's go there.
Good to know.
Yeah. So anyways, my mom and I were walking through Paducah Mall, and these beautiful quilts were on display. And we met the person who had written a book, but she was also the creator of the quilts that they used in the movie How to Make an American Quilt. Her name is Patty McCormick. And through conversations and just hitting it off, she agreed to come to my quilting shop in downtown Lancaster for the art festival. She came for the art walk when the Lancaster Festival was going on. She brought the quilts, and we just opened up the shop, and we displayed the quilts, and she signed her books and gave them to whoever came. And the one picture that we took that night, such great memories, because if you've seen the movie, she took the quilt and she wrapped it around herself, and then she wrapped it around her and her fiance, and for family. And so my girls, three of them, wrapped themselves up in this quilt, and I took a picture. And so to this day, I have this great little photo album of all the pictures we took during that experience. And I mean, don't get me started. I mean, I could go on. It was just amazing. But unfortunately, Plan B was coming to an end. I really hoped that this experience would have helped boost my image in the town, create more interest, and to come in and learn and be in a comfortable place. But that didn't happen. I struggled for the next 2 years. And I finally said, in December of 1989, I closed the door. I had to. I had to.
Strictly financial reasons, though, because you
Oh,
still
yeah.
loved everything about the quilting, but the community just wasn't supporting the volume that you needed to keep your doors open. I get it.
Right. Because
Yep.
people have a tendency to look more at dollar or how much it costs versus the quality.
Yeah.
And that was just hard back then for them to understand that. So
Yep. I get it.
it was okay. It was another chapter that I was closing the door.
So now you have to go on to plan C. Good for you that you had a plan C. I'm not sure I have a plan C.
Well, that plan C was kind of a work in progress. It was like, okay, now what am my mom and I going to do? And we decided that, well, let's take our crafting to the next step.
Okay.
We both love to create things and sell them. And so we kind of worked on this. We did craft shows, but also in conjunction with that, to this day, I can't imagine why I did this, but I actually made formals for wedding parties. Yikes.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that
gosh.
was.
So when I need a gown for my next ballroom dance, I come to you, right?
Yes, actually. In the long run, it was fun because the end result was just so rewarding.
I bet.
That
And that legacy lives on in all those pictures that those gals had with those gowns. Yes.
exactly. And you just had to be there.
I get it.
So
But then you also played around a little bit with MLMs. What did you discover there? And for those that are listening, an MLM is a multi-level marketing company. There's hundreds of them out there. I was in Mary Kay for a long time in the salon industry. I encouraged all my stylists in my salons to take on an MLM because they had a ready-made audience with all of their salon customers. And so they could do Mary Kay, they could do Avon, they could, any one of those companies. Oh yes, and they made a nice income, a nice side income, if you will, from their association with the MLMs. So I encourage them to do something different in addition to doing hair and nails. So what was your experience, Debbie?
Well, you have to be careful. You have to study a little bit. And I didn't do that. That was a lesson learned. But I was in, close to 10 different MLMs. And all I realized was that the person that was way above me was the one that was making all the money. I was making the money for them. And they never told you had how hard you had to work, but the harder you work, the more money they made. And I just decided that, this is it. I'm not going to do these anymore. And everything was even though the companies I was with have great products, I would never degrade those at all. But it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. It was not for me. And in the end, I realized it was the smartest move to do for my marriage.
Okay, because you were doing all these things to try to make a go of it in these MLMs, which is totally time consuming. And again, in line with that, when I signed on with Mary Kay, they're like, oh, you load up all this makeup and all the skin products in this suitcase, and and you slough it all around the county, and you have these home shows, and that's why I told my gals at the salon, I said, you're in a perfect environment because you don't have to have home parties. Your customers are coming to you every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every 6 weeks to get a service done. And all you have to do is just make it available. And so you don't have to do all of that extra hours of having home parties. And that's why it worked for us. So I get it though. If you're just out there and you don't have a ready-made audience, you have to create your audience.
Right.
Yeah. And
And
that's where the work comes in.
my one suggestion, never try to incorporate two MLMs together. I tried doing Tastefully Simple and Pampered Chef. Now, when you hear those, they go hand
Right.
in hand. But, oh yeah. I was trying to cook for, they would all come in and I would be in the kitchen and I would cook the food using Tastefully Simple food in hoping to sell both. And all they did was eat.
I get it. And you're putting the money up front. And part of it too, and again, I hear this oftentimes when folks are going to a trade show and they say, oh, you need to set up and show your whatever your MLM that you're representing. And I said, you know what, that sounds good in theory, but when folks come in the door, just like with your example, when folks come in the door, they have X amount of dollars that they're prepared to spend. Like, I'm going to spend $50 tonight, or I'm going to spend $100 tonight. And so now your two products are in competition with each other for that $50 or that $100. Yeah. So even if they do spend money, they're generally not going to spend it on both. They're going to pick one thing or two things that they kind of had in mind already. And that's what they're going to spend their money on. So I get that. And so it's a lot of effort and cost on your part to try to make a go of that. And again, my stylists, their customers were coming to them. All they had to do was make that Tastefully Simple, available. See?
Right. And exactly.
Because the customers kind of already knew what they wanted, because they'd already been to your home party, Debbie, and they already decided what they wanted to buy.
Exactly.
Don't forget about that.
Oh, and I even sold jewelry, Park Lane,
yes.
Sophia, and there again, you're setting up parties. And if you did craft shows, you're setting up your jewelry, hoping nobody's going to 5-finger discount it.
And you have to pay for your booth space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the time, oh my goodness, putting together, going, setting up, sitting, tearing down, going home, and putting away. I mean, you were talking about handling things with the grocery store. Hello.
I get it. Okay. So you decided that all of that craziness wasn't for you. And so now you're moving on to plan D.
Can you imagine having to go plan D? No way. Some people will say, I would have given up by then, forget it.
Oh no, we can never give up. So by then your girls are finishing high school.
Yes.
So tell us about that. What was next for you as a mom and a wife?
Well, honestly, I was lost, very lost. And well, I did something that no one ever saw it coming. I decided that I had had enough confusion, dictatorship, controlling, and you say, what's next? Okay. So what I did was I secretly found a place to move to. I packed, made arrangements for the movers, changed my address, and after 28 years of marriage, I moved out. I separated.
Oh my goodness, Debbie.
I was like,
that's huge.
It was interesting, to say the least.
And scary.
But a lot of things occurred during the 5 to 6 months. And what it came down to was this. I grew my spiritual love with God. I found peace, and I went to North Carolina for our oldest daughter's wedding, which everybody told me, don't go, blah, blah, blah. I went. And I don't know about some of you, but if you're going to some place and you just are like, butterflies are in your stomach as big as Mothra. But I had peace. I was completely calm, no problem. I was good. And so when the weekend ended, my husband and I did a lot of talking and discussing, things, and we got back together. And what's so nice is that we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to get a fresh start because Lori got married in August. So, so we didn't have much time, many months, but we moved to Charlotte and we actually renewed our wedding vows after our 29th anniversary. And here we are now at 47 years. And I am forever grateful, for putting myself out there and sharing with my family, what I wanted, what I was looking for. Of course, I still wasn't quite sure what I was looking for or gonna get, but
But Debbie, thinking about folks that are maybe listening to this later, because of your early years, that was probably a tough thing for you to do, was to put your wants and needs out there in front of your family, because you were kind of, how shall I say it, kind of trained through all of those early years that it's never about you. It's always about the dad that was abusive, and the family kind of cowered down to that. And so, as I like to say, sometimes it's not what's taught, it's what's caught. And that's definitely what was caught, for you and your siblings. And so that was a big step for you to come to that realization and put out there that this is what I need in this relationship.
Yeah.
So kudos to you and to folks that are listening to this. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it and to just expand on the renewal of our vows, we actually went to the place where my daughter had her wedding, and wedding reception was on a riverboat on Lake Norman.
Oh, so nice.
She got married on the boat, reception was there. So when we went back, we had the ship's captain marry us on land. And then we had a dinner for everyone on the riverboat, and took a ride. It was awesome. It was so, and additional people that were on there just gave us, kudos for, redoing our vows and recommitting to our life together. And I
see, this is more information I didn't know about you, Debbie. How fun.
Well, and I give that, what do I want to say? That time for what went on to give us this solid marriage and a family. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I love it. So things are going good. Life is good. You've made some serious decisions. And now all of a sudden, COVID hits. You've got a dream, though, that you're trying to think through and bring into fruition. So what happens now?
Well, it was during the COVID years, whatever.
The continuing COVID.
Yes. Yes. I had problems. I mean, who didn't during this time?
Right, right.
And so what I did was this is where my story got exciting. I mean, all of a sudden, a daydream that I had back many years ago started doing reruns in my head. And so,
Our
you know,
our
okay,
dreams have a
so
way of doing that, Debbie.
yes, they do. But it's always the same. There's never anything different. It's always the same. And what's nice is that just before COVID hit, I had found a church that I absolutely love going to. And I started doing Bible studies with this one group of ladies. And it's actually called the Legacy Bible Study. So it has been the most rewarding study that I have ever been in. And Pam, who runs the Bible study, we go to her home every Saturday. And the classes are like 6 weeks long, but her and I just hit it off. You know, she's become like a mom to me. And just before I had met her, she had lost her one and only daughter, only child, to cancer. And she has one grandchild or one granddaughter. But her and I have hit it off so well that there are many times I call her my second mom, because she teaches, she shares, she answers questions that I may have. And she's just, you know, when it's something for me, it's her and me, nothing else, no distractions. And for this, it's very important to me. And I just got to keep going. I just have to keep going.
So tell us about your keeping going. What is it that your dream is that you're now bringing to fruition for everyone?
Well, what does 2022 hold for me? New avenues, new experiences, creating more memories.
And creating a legacy.
Yes, I have a legacy to create. And if I wait any longer, who knows? And so anyways, I have decided during this year, I've created a blog called Debbie's Organic Homesteading. I might as well put all this gardening and plants and vegetables to good use for not only for myself, but for others out there that are a little afraid or have questions. So I'm really excited about this. And this season, I have gathered so much information, so many videos, and in developing this, that I'm very anxious to get it out there. I got to get it out there, and I'm not going to wait till someday, because some days never come. And
I get that. And I heard that you are writing a book. Tell us about your book, Debbie.
Well, it's one that, you know, I keep putting off and keep putting off. And I mentioned earlier that I have a book that I'm writing, and the title of the book is, it started with a daydream. From child abuse to entrepreneurship, because that's basically what I have done. And by doing this outline that I've done, it puts so much of my story at my fingertips to be able to go out and share this And, there's a lot of things that I've left out. So that we haven't talked about today. And so I want to build a curiosity to come and read the book when I launch it. And this is going to really provide me with additional avenues through my life experiences that I can touch so many different lives.
Debbie, your
And
message is so important. It is so important.
thank you. I feel closer to it now. I want to just leave you with these words. Today, tomorrow, and the future is all mine. I have found clarity to my purpose in life. I love the inner strength that I have now. It was lying so deep in my soul. It took baby steps. We always talk about baby steps to locate, build, and bring out into the light for all to see. I want to be a lighthouse for people. I am on the path to become what God has intended me to be, growing in strength, confidence, and self-esteem is going to be my legacy that I leave for my grandchildren. So go out. I want you all to just go out, live your life, experience, open yourself up, create a life that's worth living, and create a legacy for those you love, because who is going to talk about you after you're gone? And what are they going to say? So I've given myself this title, which I actually created back when I was doing some special training. And that is this: I am a confident, committed, successful, now I added this, 68-year-old woman, or young woman. Hear me roar. And the picture is of a lion roaring with these words on it. So I have to tell you that I have enjoyed this immensely, sharing. Back when you interviewed me, there was so much I had to leave out that I felt the necessity to come clean. I want people to understand where I came from and why I'm moving forward in this direction, and to help them understand that they can have and create a life worth living. And so thanks, Kathy, for helping me with this. Sally, thank you for being here with us so that you could actually interject yourself into it. That's very much appreciated. And I hope that the women who listen to the recording here reach out to us. Let us know what you think. Let us know if we can help you. If you want to share your story, you don't even have to have a business if you don't want. Share your story. What is your future dreams? And I want to grow Fireside Chat with Debbie Marks next year to expand to wherever it's going to take us. Only God knows the answer to that. And we just have to be open to go through the doors that he opens for us. So thanks a lot. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I mean,
Yes, and Debbie, yes, thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks.
So for everyone that's listening, tune in every month to Fireside Chat with Debbie Marks. If you would like to be interviewed and share your story, you can connect with Debbie. Debbie, if you put that in the chat, I will put it on the replay.
Okay.
And you can find the replays by contacting Debbie. She's going to put her contact information in the actual chat so that folks can see that once we upload the recording. So Debbie, I appreciate you. Sally, I appreciate you. And we will see everyone next time. And again, Debbie's putting
One more note.
Yep, go ahead.
One more note. Please come back next month because we already have a very interesting speaker, and you will be kind of intrigued as to the information she's going to share with us about recycling. It's
I know who she
amazing.
is, so.
Perfect.
So
yes, thank you so much, and we will see everyone next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
Same to you all.